Hello friends, in this particular video I will be showing you the first part of the CRUD operation that makes use of Python with SQLite. Well, SQLite 3 comes by default with Python, so you don't have to add any external package for that. It has already been there. In this particular program I have broken the CRUD operation into two functionalities, that is called insert and display. So C is insert and D is display, that is create and display, or create or retrieve. In that way also you can call it. I have broken this entire operation into multiple files because I want to follow the modular data structure, so that later on when you will be working on Python Django you don't have any problem. And this modular data structure gives the concept of loosely coupled, so that you can perform unit testing separately in this particular program. Well, although I have not done the unit testing over here, but still we can do that easily. So if you can see over here, I've got three files: db_config for database connection, operation, this is the file which will be holding the different CRUD operation functionalities, and main.py, which is going to take the input from the user and eventually will connect these files. If I expand my toolbar over here, I've got my database by the name called mydb.db, and I'm using DB SQLite browser for DB SQLite, and over here I can show you that already one data I have added in my database. So if I come over here, you can see the structure of the table. The table name is called users. If I expand over here, you have got name, phone number, email, and all are of type text. So currently in the table I have got only one record, that is called Peter Parker. So now we will run the code and we'll see how exactly the flow of control is taking place. So here is my terminal. I go for Python main.py. As I hit the enter, you get to see the menu. That means the control is executing this part of the file, menu.py, and over here we have a function called dev menu, and by default this is called dunder or magic function, which is giving a call to the create table first, because first you need to create your table. So if you look over here right now, do I have any create table over here? No, but create table is present inside the file db_config.py. So for that reason, at this point of time, you can see over here I've given a call to this particular file called db_config. So from db_config I'm giving a call to this particular function that is called create table. So this is where the control will come down. So once I click this, it will land up over here. So let me expand this to see what is right now present over here. Let me collapse this. Well, over here I have given a call to another function called create_connection, which is present right over here. So let me expand this and let me show you that it is simply invoking the connectivity of your database, whose name is called mydb.db, and this is done with the package called SQLite.connect method. So connect is a function present inside the package called SQLite 3, who is going to refer to the database that is right over here. So make sure the database name should match with this one. I mean, this database name should match with this one, so that you don't have any problem in connecting. And that's how the connection is established. So once the connection is established, now this particular reference of this connection you are going to pass over here. So basically we are passing over here a reference of type SQLite3.connection, even though by default you don't have to mention the return type, but this is actually what happens. SQLite3.connection is what will return, and that reference is getting stored right over here inside this called connection. So if you want to define this, it will be of type SQLite connection reference. Okay, since database makes use of the since Python makes use of the type inference, so for that reason, even if you don't define the data type, still it is going to work. But of course, as a beginner, you must be aware about that what function is returning and what reference you are going to create. So you are going to create a reference of type connection. If you see over here, the CO over here is actually in uppercase, hence it means that it is a class. And that's what you can see over here. It's a connection, is a class present inside the package called SQLite 3 or module, whatever you call it. So once the connection is established, now is the time to give a call to the cursor, and that cursor reference you're going to create over here. So I can say that this is SQLite3.cursor reference. So what it is going to do? Well, the cursor is responsible for executing the SQL queries. Remember, SQL is a different set of operation and Python is a different set of operations. So someone has to be there who would map these two different functionalities. So for that reason, cursor will be responsible to generate the SQL query, and that's how Python will be able to work on. So for that reason, we need to make use of SQLite3.cursor. Here also the cursor C is uppercase, that means it's a class. So that reference is called cursor over here. So remember, cursor will be able to execute the SQL queries. So cursor class comes up with a method called execute, that's what I'm invoking, and over here I'm writing the command for creating a table. Although I have created the table through DB browser, but you can also do that over here. So if you see over here, there are triple dots are there, so that you can write multiple statement, multiple line statement, you can write it. So what I've done over here is that it is first checking if the table does not exist, then only you create the table called user. So create table if not exists. So in case the table is not there, then only you will be creating. But if DB browser already have created the table right over here, I've done it, in that case it will be skipped. In case if I didn't do, what will happen? In that case, it will create one attribute over here called user_id. So let me do one thing. I will do small adjustment over here, because if you see, I don't have an attribute called id. So for that reason, what I'm going to do is that let me drop this particular table from here. So I will delete this particular table, and once I do that, it asks me, are you sure you want to delete? Yes. Oh, sorry, I clicked the no. So delete, yes, I want to do it, and I deleted that, but I need to make the changes right over here by clicking on the right change option, and then it's been done. So there's no more table present over here, and if I come to the browser, I don't have table to show even. So now what I'm going to do is that I have my database, but now this particular functionality will work, whereby it will be creating a table by the name called user, and it will be having the following attribute user_id, which is after integer, and that's going to be a primary key, and it should be auto increment. That means the id will increase one by one. In the similar way, the next attribute will be name, which is of type text, and that's going to be not null. That means you have to give value for this. Phone number, of course, it should be unique. It's also of type text, because like the range of the number will be pretty high. If you go for integer, it might create a problem. So for that reason, it has gone for text type, and it need to be given as input. You cannot keep it as blank, and the same goes for email. The email should be also unique. It's a text type, and it should be not null. So once you have done this, you are going to save this transaction. For that reason, using commit. The commit is responsible for saving, just like the way you have to be committed in a relationship. In the same way, you have to save the query. For that reason, we have given the commit, and finally we'll close the transaction with the help of close. So this is how the create table function will get executed. And remember, this table function should be executed only once, for the first time when the table is not there, and thereafter you should only use the while loop for generating the input from the user, or insert data and display. That's it. So this menu will work, and inside the menu, the while loop is infinite, is going to work, but the create table is going to work only for the first time and also for the last time. Okay, so now if I press the option number 1, it will go for the insert function. The control will come over here, and then will provide insert. But before I get into that, let me do one thing. I want to make a small change over here, since I've introduced the ID. So for that reason, what I need to do is that I have to introduce that field right over here also. So what I will be doing is I write ID over here, which is of type colon, and that will be of the value 0, index 0, which is ID, then 1 is going to be the name, 2 is going to be the phone number, and 3 is going to be the email ID. Always remember, the first attribute start with the 0th index, followed by 1, followed by 2, and this way it should go on. Okay, but we will get to the display function a little later on. But first, let me run the function once again, and let's see how the thing is working. So control comes right over here. Let me exit from this by pressing option number 3. I'm out of this. Let me clear the screen, and let me run the code once again. So let me yeah, I just zoom it a bit. Yes. So now let me run the program again. So here it goes, Python main.py, and I hit the enter. The option 1, option 2 comes right over here. So now imagine that you are going to insert option number 1. So if I hit option number 1, the menu function comes over here. It will bring to this particular line, and since I have given this option number 1, which is of the text, because it's wrapped with the quotation, so basically this is an str, and then I will give a call to the insert_user. So from this particular file called operation.py, import the function called insert_user. So this is how the modular structure has to be. So control will come right over here, and then it will expect 3 input from the user. Let me just see whether the input is coming or not. I hit the enter, and it's asking me to enter the name. Great. So here it is, and then I will go for which name? That is called John Carter. I love this particular character, John Carter. I hit the enter, and then it will ask me to enter the phone number. So let me give an arbitrary phone number 1122233445. I hit the enter, the phone number is taken, and let's go for the email. Remember, these are all going to be unique. So john@gmail.com, I have gone for it, and as I hit the enter, what's going to happen? Well, now we are inside the exception block, because database operation need to be done with the help of exception handling. In case if anything goes wrong, the exception handling will take care about this. Now once it enters over here, I'm giving a call to another method called create connection. So let me expand this function to show you what is over here. So here is the one which I'm going to give a call to my database, like the way we did over here, called create connection. The same way we are giving a call to create connection, and what I'm doing over here, I'm giving a call to my database. Why I'm doing that? Because after all, the insert query need to be executed on basis of this database. For that reason, you need to give a call to the database, and again it is sending you the SQLite 3 connection reference, like the way we have already done over here. That is right over here, and now we are giving a call to the cursor. Remember, cursor is always responsible for executing a SQL query. Whether you're performing a create table operation, whether you're performing insert operation, your cursor is the reference which is responsible to execute your data. So we are now going to insert the data over here. So this is going to create the table which has already been done, and now we are going to insert the record in the table. Okay, so once we've executed this, if I come to my database, and if I come over here, if I come over here, if I reload it, see already the table user got created, which we have deleted a few minutes ago. And if you see over here, ID already got created, so that means this particular table exists, but of course there is no data right now inside this particular table. So if I come over here, if I click over here, I don't have any data right now, because we are yet to execute the command. That is, we execute the I'm yet to hit the enter. The enter is not yet been pressed by me. So once I hit the enter, the cursor execute will insert. So insert into user, the table which you saw, and following the attribute, because the first attribute was auto increment. So for that reason, you don't need to give any ID for that, and you have to mention the rest of the attribute. So you have got 3 attributes, and these 3 attributes represented by these 3 question marks. So how these 3 question mark will work? Well, first input I've taken the name, so this name will be replacing the first question mark. The second is the phone number, that will replace the second question mark, and the email will replace the third question mark. So these are like the placeholder where these this variable will come in, and then this entire query will get executed. Make sure after executing this particular query, we are going to perform a commit operation, because commit will allow you to save the transaction in the database. Otherwise it will not work, and thereafter you must close the connection so that you can start the connection once again, and this particular message will be printed in the terminal that is user inserted successfully. So now let's go and hit the enter to see whether I get that particular message or not. Yes, the message is over here, user inserted successfully, and after doing that, the control again comes back to the while loop. Because of that reason, you're again seeing this particular menu back again. Well, the data got inserted successfully, so in my database I will be able to see that reflection. So for that reason, what I do is I go and click on the refresh button, and bingo, here it comes. So here is your name. Before that, ID automatically generated, the phone number and the email, that what I've given directly over here. Okay, making sense, right? So now once again, if I go and insert one more record just to see how exactly it's operating, so I come over here and I hit the choice once again, and it asks me to enter a new name. So let's go for another name called Suzanne, and Suzanne Ray. I hit the enter. The phone number is 2233445566, and I hit the enter, and the name and the email is suzanne@gmail.com, and I hit the enter. Now again it shows inserted successfully. Let's come over here and let's come to my database. Again I go for reload, and with that you see the new record that inserted successfully. Great, isn't it? That's how the insert user functionality is working. Well, let's keep it up to this for the day. In my next video, I will be talking about the display functionality, how exactly the display is going to work, because display has got a different approach altogether. But in this particular video, you saw that how exactly you are going to structure your program, because structuring a program is very thing. Just writing a program is not the ultimate thing. You have to think about the automation, the unit testing part. All those things need to be done. So for that reason, the modular approach or loosely coupled approach should be always your choice or preference. Okay, so that's all in this particular video presentation. We successfully inserted the record in our SQLite 3, and my next video we will talk about how to fetch the data. Okay, until then, have a nice time. Bye bye, take care.